Hello, 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 hello.
Done. So, good afternoon, everyone. Let us continue, right? I hope that you are enjoying this classes, right? This section. So, first, whenever we do this analysis of PYQs, and if you are having some idea about the topic, then it becomes easy for you to comprehend and link the topics, right? So, for example, just now Bhakti movement, once you had got that framework, uske baad you got the idea how to fill in the gaps from the perspective of the prelims, the facts, etc., right? So, exactly in the same way, for this another 30-35 minutes, first or another 30 minutes में सबसे important topic that what we are going to do is about Jainism and Buddhism. Jainism and Buddhism. Now coming to this, in brief, explaining you about this topic, Jainism and Buddhism. So this topic, in context of art and culture, ancient India, this is core of core topic, correct? Every year, compulsory, every year you will get question on this topic. Nowadays, the nature of the questions are more factual in nature, and multiple statement wise questions are also been asked. Also mapping based questions are asked, that Buddha visited which places, etc., etc. So when we are studying this, you should also have idea about later Vedic period and the Mahajanapadas of that time, because its origin is traced back to that period. Is it clear? Have this idea. Now coming to the point, what we should know about these points, these basic concepts are as follows. First, what you should understand is the origin and reasons for the rise of Jainism and Buddhism, correct? So the origin of the Jainism and Buddhism can be traced back to something called as 6th century BC, correct? So for example, I am writing here about 600 BC, correct? So यहाँ पे क्या हुआ था? Here in this context, why it raised, the origin can be traced back to this time period in India, where two major proponents were basically आपका Mahavira and Buddha, correct? I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm just trying to tell you. Now coming to the point, what were the major reasons? The major reasons, if you just try to understand why did this Buddhism and Jainism rise in this time period. In this time period, if you remember the time period of 1500 BC to 1000 BC, there was rise of the later Vedic period, correct? So in later Vedic period, what happened was the rise of, in this period, lot of rituals, sacrifices, language, Sanskrit, correct? Then caste system, orthodoxical elements, etc. So as a response to all of these things, raised another heterodox school of thought, that is none other than my Jainism and Buddhism. In response to this later Vedic period, whatever happened, caste system raised, the status of the women declined, Sanskrit language which was not understood to the masses, similar lot of rituals, sacrifices, and there was something called as Upanishads. Upanishads were dealing with lot of, I would say, Upanishads were dealing with metaphysical questions like God, soul, Atma, correct? to the common masses, they were not understood. So in response to this, what raised was basically आपका Jainism and Buddhism as a heterodox school of thought. I hope you are getting the point. So this is basic reason for the rise of both of them, correct? They are contemporary, correct, in this time period, and both of them find their origin mainly in the North India, and from there they have spread to the different parts. I hope you got it. Now in this context, let us first study about Jainism, correct? Now first is आपका Jainism. So Jainism mein first point what you should know. So this part, whatever I discussed, is just the background which can be asked you in the mains. For example, it can be useful for the mains to understand the story. इसमें पीटी का कोई correlationship है नहीं. Now coming to this, from here starts the basically आपका prelims का part. So Jainism we have just discussed about origin, correct? Origin. Though these are the major reasons for the rise of the Jainism. Now second most important are the people associated Jainism में. It is none other than the 24 Tirthankaras. 24 Tirthankaras, you should be having idea. What is Tirthankara? Tirthankara is nothing but a person who has a Keval Gyan. Keval Gyan matlab ultimate knowledge. He has achieved nirvana, enlightenment. Correct? So that is. In this you should be knowing who was the first one, who was the 23rd, and who was the 24th. Tell me, who was the first one? Rishabhnath. Who was 24th? Bhagwan Mahavira. Right? And who was 23rd? Correct. So now these are the basically 24 Tirthankaras. In this context, what you should be knowing is about the most important is teachings and the philosophy. Teaching and philosophy of the Jainism. Teaching and the philosophy of the Jainism. In this context, Aditya sir will be elaborating with me. Correct. So teaching is सबसे important. What did Jainism speak about? Jainism spoke about something called as three Ratnas. Which are the three Ratnas? Right faith, right conduct, right knowledge. What is it? Right knowledge is nothing but the preachings of following the path of Mahavira. Right conduct is nothing but the conduct which was given by great five vows. Five vows कौन से थे? Not to. It is not on, sir.
Yeah. It's audible, right? No? Yeah. Which are the five O's?
Not to.
Ahimsa, truth, then asteya, that means that non-stealing, aparigraha, that means that non-possession, then brahmacharya or chastity, you can say. Right? Brahmacharya was basically added by whom? The Mahavira. Before there were four.
It is not audible.
Is it not audible?
Now
Audible. Audible.
Sir ka energy has been.
Yeah, so yeah,
Correct.
these are the five vows that you are supposed to know, which was added by Mahavira, you are supposed to know, and then four different.
Correct. Now, in the same time, the philosophy of the Jainism speaks about something called as the most important is soul. Tell me, what does it speak about the soul? That every animate, living and non-living object has a soul, and you should not basically harm it, right? At the same time, you should also know what was basically Jainism and Mahavira ka views about something called as God. Tell me, what was his views about the God? There is. Was there a God? Tell me the basic difference with respect to God, the views of the Buddhism and Jainism. क्या है बोलो? Who believed? वो तो soul, God, मतलब about normal रामा वगैरह है क्या?
No, they believed in God.
They believed in God.
But they have placed Jina above them.
Correct. See, you should understand these basic differences. Huh? Soul का अलग है, soul and God का confuse नहीं करना. Correct. Then basically the most important, other than this, you should understand about the what did it speak about the caste system, karma, etc., etc. All these are the basic points and the views of Jina with respect to this basically teachings philosophy. Now, as it arose in the North India, it started to spread towards the Western India and towards the Southern India, especially in the Karnataka. That is, you should understand. Next is spread of Jainism. Correct? Spread of Jainism towards the Western India and towards the Southern India in Karnataka. Second most important point, what assignment for you is that during his time period, Mahavira visited which republics of that time period? You should be knowing it, correct? Just say for example, Bhagwan Buddha, Gautam Buddha, visited which places during his lifetime? Kosala and Magad and Avanti? No, no.
See what? See, there is a basic thing that you have to observe, right? In these kind of things, it is always not that mugging up the things, basically.
Adi, it is not audible actually.
Not audible?
Not audible.
Now it is audible?
Yeah.
It is not mic problem, this mic ka problem. Okay.
Uh,
Right. So yeah, basically, so how you are supposed to study? Let's say if I take Buddha, right? So Buddha basically born in Lumbini, right? So you connect it to which kingdom it was associated with, right? Or you know the Saka dynasty that it has been associated with, right? Then he comes and he will get enlightened. Where he will get enlightened? Bodh Gaya. So Bodh Gaya belongs to which kingdom during the Mahajanapadas? So they were basically during the Mahajanapadas. So 16 Mahajanapadas are there. So now whenever the Bodh Gaya is coming, so where Bodh Gaya will come? Which under which basically this will come. Right. So that is the second one that you have to understand. Then let's say he started is giving the first sermon, right, in Sarnath. So Sarnath belongs to which basically the kingdom during that time. That you have to understand. Then he ate his last meal, right, in Pawa. Right. Later basically he died at Kushinagar, or he went to Mahaparinirvana at Kushinagar. Now to which basically the the kingdom are basically the Ganasangas, right? The Pava and basically the which one is the last one that I told? Kushinagar, right? So Kushinagar has become his death place, right? So which belongs to which one? That is Malla, right? So you should be knowing. Try to link them not just by mugging up which kingdom he visited. He have a different places in his life that you can connect with. Now you connect that places belongs to which place, right? So in that way it becomes very easy to remember rather than mugging up the kingdom, because 16 Mahajanapadas you start mugging it up when they have two options, you start getting confused. So it is always better in that way that you should be knowing their life journeys and then connecting with them, because at that point of time, so they were not going from south to complete north to south. They will be roaming around in that place itself. So wherever their important places are connected with, try to connect that places and to which kingdom they have belonged to. In that way you can remember the things. All right.
okay, so summing it up, this is what we spoke about, the origin, 24 Tirthankaras, unka philosophy, very, very exceptionally important. They spoke about ahimsa, etc. Ahimsa. And later I spoke about the spread and the places which were visited by basically aapka Mahavira, right? Now the most important point here is about the sects. Very, very important point. The sects of the basically aapka Jainism. So now, what was the major reason for the rise of the sects, especially in the context of the Jainism? Anyone? What are the reason?
Which are the sects? Shvetambara and
Digambaras. So,
right. So how that division has happened? Spread of in the Magadha region.
What happened
there
in
was a famine? So as the famine goes for a very long time, right? So initially when they were following the brahmacharya, ascetic, right? They were a very strict rules in Jainism. Compared to Buddhism, Jainism was having a very strict rules. Now due to this famine, few people actually left the place and basically settled. Along with Bhadrabahu, they settled in the South India. And since they came to South India with the same condition, the good condition that is available here, they continue to follow the original teachings of Jaina. But whoever they staying there, they had issues with the changing situation. So they cannot have the same philosophy and follow the same thing. So they have to undergo some changes, right? And they have change their original teaching of Buddha to adjust themselves, right? Whoever has never changed, we call them as Digambaras. Who basically started wearing white clothes and changed the customs and other things, we call them as Shvetambaras, right? Now if you look at Digambaras, it is Bhadrabahu, and if you look at Shvetambara, it is Sulabahu. These two leaders name you should be knowing. Then basically the patrons with respect to the Digambara, it is very strict. It cannot be given patronage by lot of kings, because the rules itself is so strict that they cannot themselves convert into Digambara, right? Only that we have that information is about Chandragupta Maurya, who took Sallekana Vrata, that is fasting unto death. and went with the Bhadrabahu. That means that basically only the Chandragupta Maurya can be linked with respect to that. Other than that, it is mostly the Shvetambaras that has become major sects throughout our Indian history, because that can be easily patronized by the king. So subsects also, when you are studying, it becomes important to study the subsects of Shvetambara compared to Digambara, because Digambara has become so less. Even though there are minute sects within that, that will not become so important from your examination point of view. But the Shvetambaras has spread in the Western India completely, Gujarat, Rajasthan. So from there, whatever the subsect that has happened, that becomes important. So what are the subsects of Shvetambaras?
First of all, sir, whatever sir has said, that because of basically famine in so-called as Gangetic plain, few of them remained here, other went towards the South India, correct? That is none other than my so-called as apka Digambaras, basically apka the followed by the Bhadrabahu, which follow the nudity, and the upar wale jo white clothes wale, correct? Now within the Shvetambaras, what you should know is that name of the people, second name of the sect, name of the people, and their ideas. What were their basic ideas? How were they both different from each other? That you should know. At the same time, you should know the subsects of Shvetambaras and Digambaras. So which are the subsects of Shvetambaras? Tell me. I'll be writing, so I'll be telling. So first of all, the most important subsects with respect to the Shvetambaras was nothing but
Murti Pujika.
Murti Pujakas.
Right? Murti Pujika means what is that? Murti means what? Idol worship. That means that they started worshipping Mahavira itself as a god. They have constructed a temple to him. Within that, Mahavira statue is there. Everybody is basically worshipping the Mahavira as a god. Right? So that is basically Murti Pujika. Now this a little bit goes against their basic principle themselves. So some people have started opposing it. Right? Then what they have started telling? They have started telling that, see, this is not something right, that we are having these, beautiful temples and then doing the gods. That is more, we are moving towards more of, the moving away from basically the Jaina philosophy. So what they told, all you need is a meditation. All you need is basically an empty place. You don't need anything ornate kind of thing. You have to sit in an empty place and meditate, and do that itself is enough. Don't need a temple or Murti Puja. So again, after Murti Puja, these Sthanika Vasis has come. Sthanika means basically the prayer hall. Right? So all you need is a prayer hall, not temples, not idols. So the basic idea is Sthanakvasi. So Sthanakvasi basically started meditating and doing the thing. But over a period of time, it is only meditation, it is happening, it is not helping to spread the thing. So against them, they are not following, they have become lazy, just every day morning they get up, pray and go. So there is nothing happening as such. Then against it basically comes the Therapanthi. So this Sthanakvasi and Therapanthi are very latest, like 17th, 18th century kind of changes that has happened. So three sects that are very, very important. One, Murti Pujika, then Sthanakvasi, that is Sthanak means meditation, or the prayer hall may whatever do the meditation. Against that Therapanthi. Therapanthi means Thera means 13. Right? So they have given basically the 13 different rules that you have to follow. Among them, 5 O's of Jainism that you have to follow. 3 Ratnas you have to follow. Like that, the 3 important things of the Jainism that you have to follow. Just pray and stop it will not help. You have to, have that completeness, otherwise that religion as such will not be happening. So that is basically the Therapanthis that you should be having. Founder, you should be knowing what is their basic philosophy, right? So with respect to Digambara, as I told you, there are many, but it is not really important. Just know the names of them, that would be more than enough, because their importance itself has declined. It has not been spread also. So not in detail you required about Digambara, right? I can just tell the names, but it is not really useful, right? So you have to understand that whatever that is contributing more importantly, that has to be studied properly. Other things, just you have to just know the names would be more than sufficient.
So the few of the names for the subsects of Digambara are Mula Sangha, Samaya Pantha, Vagera Vagera. So there are many. We have mentioned only few which are mentioned in the standard books, right? So these are few of them. But you should know these 3 compulsorily of the Shvetambaras. I hope you got it. Now, whatever we understand about the Jainism, we understand through their literature. The learnings of Buddha, of the Mahavira is written down, codified. But what is that codified thing? We call it as what? I hope everyone has written this. because यही पे MCQs है पूरा, correct? And what is that thing what is written? We call it as Jain literature. Now this literature, what is the mean? What are the literature? Agams and non-agams. These are the two things of the basically Jaina literature. Now, whenever they compiled, these literature was compiled during, basically most important is आपका Jain councils. There are two major Jain councils which took place, correct? That is first Jain council and second Jain council, correct? The first Jain council which took place was in 3rd century BC, and it was held at Patliputra in North India. Patliputra, North India. So it was presided by आपका स्थूलभाऊ. You should know this. So it was first Jain council कब हुआ था? Basically during 3rd century BC, and it was held at Patliputra, presided by Stulbahu. At the same time, second was held at 1512 AD in Vallabi, at Vallabi. Presided वगैरह इतना डिटेल में जाने की जरूरत है नहीं, but इतना तो पता होना चाहिए. And in these two major Jain councils, basically this particular literature was compiled and finalized. समझ में आया पूरा आपको ये? So you should know about this particular आपका Jain councils, correct? And the last and the most important, whatever we are able to understand about the Jains is about their, I hope everyone has done this, is about Jain architecture. The images of this are given well depicted in the NCRTs, correct? Architecture में आपको क्या पता होना चाहिए? Rock cut caves, paintings, especially caves, paintings and temples. These are the three things that you should know about the Jainism. So about any caves related to Jainism, anyone? Especially Mangitungi cave in Maharashtra, very very important. Then आपका Udayagiri Khandagiri cave in Odisha, I'm just writing names. Maharashtra, Odisha. Maharashtra में Mangitungi, second Udayagiri Khandagiri cave, then Hathi Gumfa in Odisha, Sittanavasal in Tamil Nadu. They are very very important caves. You will find this. I'm just mentioning it, correct? Then paintings. With respect to paintings, I can say basically Sittanavasal wala. Then very important one is statues, guys. Statues, Gomteshwara statue वगैरह. Then temples. Any one temple? Dilwara temple. कहाँ पे? Mount Abu, Rajasthan. Correct? These things you should be knowing about the Jain architecture. Caves कहाँ पे था? Paintings, who were the patterns वगैरह वगैरह. So these things are very very essential for something called as आपका Jainism. I hope you are getting the point. So what I have done, I have divided into 5 things. Origin uska means 24 teachings. Then about spread, about the sects. Then about something called as आपका literature. Literature के बाद agams were constituted in Jain councils, and basically आपका finally आपका something called as आपका Jain architecture. I hope everyone got the idea.
And there's two basic philosophies, Anekantavada.
Correct. You can write it down. What sir is
called Anekantavada. This is very very important. The philosophy, now the question is mostly moving toward the philosophy part of it. How soul is being seen, how Anekantavada is being seen. What is Anekantavada? The word it is there. What is Aneka? Multiple, right? So that means that Anekantavada is every truth have a multiple side. You cannot say that this is the truth. If you look at this, it looks the truth in that way. That means that there is a parable where they have given a story, right?
Elephant.
The elephant will be there. Every blind man will be keep touching a different part. For someone will touch basically its trunk. He feels that it is a rope. Someone will touch its basically leg. He feels that it is a pillar. So that means that we are blind actually. One thing only, one angle only we can see. But for the same fact, there can be multiple side of the story. So they belong that for that to propose that. So what is the idea they have proposed? Shayadwad. Syadwada means basically Shayad, the Hindi word that we are doing. Shayad. What is the meaning of Shayad? Maybe, right? So that means that Shayadwada is only one truth. This may be the truth, not it is the truth. It may be the truth for you. It may be the truth for someone. it may be the truth for somebody else. So that means that in the Anekantavada, since there are multiple truths, every truth is a maybe a truth, not it is an eternal truth. So that is basically Syadvada has supported this Anekantavada. So like that you should be having the broader understanding of Anekantavada and Syadvada as such. Alright?
Correct. So exactly on the same lines, let us move on to something called as Buddhism. So with respect to Buddhism, what all themes you should know are as follows. First of all, we have already discussed the rise or the origin of the Buddhism, and you should be knowing about Gautam Buddha and the basics about him. Matlab, where did he achieve, when did he achieve the nirvana, वगैरह वगैरह, correct? Father, mother, clan, etc. एक बार mother clan भी पूछा है, sir, if I am not wrong, correct? Which was the clan of the father and which was the clan of the mother?
Sakya clan.
Correct? पता है ना? पूछा है, इसीलिए बोल रहा हूँ. Coming to the point. Origin हो गया, which I already discussed. Now the most important is his first sermon. You should be knowing about his first sermon, where he got basically nirvana under the Bodhi tree in Sarnath. At Sarnath, that is none other than आपका so called as what? Dhamma Chakra Pravartana. Correct? So that is, you should be knowing about this. Now the most important thing here is about the teaching and the philosophy. Teaching and the philosophy of Lord Buddha. Philosophy of Lord Buddha. So Lord Buddha have spoken about 4 noble truths. Am I right or wrong? What are these 4 noble truths? Suffering. याद रखना एक ही word. Suffering is a.
What is the first truth? See, just always have a logic, don't mug up. That's what I basically do. So what is the first thing? Desire is the cause is the next one. But there is a suffering. Suffering you cannot avoid.
Correct.
There will be suffering. So suffering is the first truth. Right? So when you know that suffering, what caused the suffer is the second truth.
Desire.
Desire.
Can you get rid?
Cause of the suffer is second. Now to decide or now come out of that suffering, what you need? Nirvana. Right? So that is coming out of the suffering is nirvana. That is the third truth.
Correct.
Everybody can come out of this suffering through nirvana.
Correct.
But how do you come in? Following
For that,
the eightfold path.
eightfold.
So that means that the the way to come out of this using the nirvana, how do you get that nirvana is the fourth. Right? So that is basically dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, and then magga. Right? So these are the 4 terminologies that will be. You should not just knowing the English words, also the technical terms with respect to them. What is the basically, the dukkha means? Dukkha means basically suffering. Then basically you have samudaya, that is origin, from where this is coming, from your desire it is coming. How do you come out of it? Through nirvana you are coming out of it, that is nirodha. After that, how do you get it? Through the eightfold path, following the eightfold path, that is your moksha. So that is how you are 4 noble truths that you are supposed to know. Continue.
So 4 noble truths to gain nirvana, enlightenment, ashtangika marg. Correct? The word 8 matlab ashta. Ashtangika marg, basically he speaks about following a middle path, madhyam marg. Correct? And finally, he has spoken about basically, if you consider these 3 things, God, soul, karma, these are all metaphysical questions. The question here is, did Buddha speak about these things at the same time did he focus upon caste system? Tell me. Did he believe in God? Did he believe in soul? तो ये भी पूछ सकते हैं आपको. So you have to compare God, views of his on God, soul, karma and caste. He did not speak about anything about the caste वगैरह कुछ भी नहीं.
It does not mean that he did not believe.
हाँ. So
I am
but
not spoken about it. That means that I am not pro also, anti also. I am just silent about it. So Buddha is silent about the existence of God. He never
I
told
mean
that
that
there is no God. Right?
because when the statements are given, they will be given in such a way.
He rejected the concept of God.
Ah.
You have to be very careful. He is not rejected the God also. He has not
Accepted
the
also,
God
both.
He did not go to that complex thing. He just told that let's follow the Madhyama mark, middle path. Let's not worry about these experiences. So that is how basically he has kept quiet about it rather than talking about it.
Then the next very important theme is about the spread of the Buddhism. Correct? The spread of the Buddhism. Similarly, now to spread the Buddhism, what was arranged was nothing but who's provided? Monks and upasikas. Monks and upasikas. So basically, monks were arranged into what is called as sanghas. correct? So you should be knowing the important monks, because this time also UPSC has asked about the famous monks, right? So basically, which were the monks? उनके नाम पता होने चाहिए. They were arranged in the sanghas. Now in sanghas, who were the members? You should be knowing about that. Who were the members and how it was governed? मतलब governance of it. Governance of it. Governance मतलब what are the code of conduct and who are the members? So in sangha, all of the people were allowed to enter. That is from all the caste, men and women all at the same time. Governance मतलब code of conduct क्या था? For all men के लिए क्या है? Females के लिए क्या है? All these things were basically आपका under the sangha you should be knowing. And the famous monks, I am writing the name, famous monks you should be knowing. Famous monks. So these are the basic 4 points that you should be knowing, basics about the Buddhism. And at the same time, you should be knowing places visited. Places visited, that is the republics visited by Buddha. Places visited by Buddha. Which are those? Just now we spoke about it. Kosala, Magadha, and there is one more. Tell me. Vatsa. Vatsa. Vatsa.
Right. So there are basically kingdoms mein and republic. Kingdoms mein basically you have Gandhara, sorry, what is it? Magadha, then basically Kosala, and then you are having Vatsa. Right. Then in Malla is basically, as I told you, it is a republic, not a kingdom, but Gana Sangha. I told you that Mahajana Padas mein there were kingdoms and there were Gana Sanghas. You know, the people you decide who is the king. Then if it become hereditary, it is a kingdom. So that way basically you should be knowing about these two things.
Okay,
Right?
now let us come to the most important point. इसमें सबसे important is teaching, monks, and now coming to the most important, that is sects of the Buddhism. Sects, or rather than I will say, first we will discuss about the councils, Buddhist councils, and then we will discuss the sects, because from here only everything started. So let us consider about Buddhist councils. Buddhist councils. So when I am studying Buddhist council, you should be knowing 4 major things, correct? That is, how many councils were there? 4. That is first, second, third, and fourth Buddhist council. So this is the first basic point that you should be knowing. Second is, when did it take place, correct? And what was the major contribution of it, right? So ये table बस एक याद कर लेना. So there are major 4 Buddhist council, that is 4th, correct? Now here you should be knowing the following things. That is, who was the, where it was, that is venue, who was the chairperson, who was the chairman, then whose patronage they got, patronage, and what was the outcome. These are the basic things that you should be compulsory knowing, right? So let us try to decode one by one. So the first Buddhist council, and here is the time, correct? This is the Buddhist council. The first Buddhist council took place when? Immediately after, matlab the death of Buddha, that is 483 BC. Second, 100 years later, that is 383 BC. Correct? I hope you are understanding. Third, under whose patronage, guys, come on? Ashoka. Kab? 250 BC. And this was basically आपका 72 AD. Correct? So this 483 BC वाला venue, the first Buddhist council कहाँ पे हुआ था? Rajgriha. Then second, Vaishali. Third, it was Patliputra. And fourth, कहाँ पे? Kashmir. And who was the chairperson? The first में कौन था? Mahakashyapa. Second, it was none other than my Sabba Kami. Correct? Sabba Kami. Then third, it was none other than Mogalapatti Tissa. Right? Fourth, it is none other than Vasumitra. Correct? So these are the chairperson under whose patronage the council was held, and these are the places. Now next is patronage. किसके patronage के अंदर? First, it was none other than what? Ajat Shatru. Second, it is none other than my so-called as Kalashoka. Third, Ashoka. And fourth is now Kanishka. Now let us try to understand basically the contributions and the outcomes in a story format. So Aditya sir will be elaborating what happened here, why there was fight, and here I will be writing कि मतलब क्या हुआ. In first Buddhist council क्या हुआ था सबसे पहले? Anyone? What was the major outcome of first Buddhist council? Huh?
It was happening after the death of Buddha.
क्या हुआ था
First
उसमें?
job is what? Compile the teachings of Buddha. Right, so when he is died, when he is, let's say alive, he himself is telling about all his teaching. Now when he is no more, what we should do to promote it? We should actually compile all of his teaching. Right, so for that basically there are two things that we have done. Sutta Pitaka and Vinaya Pitaka were compiled. And exactly about Dharma, Abhidhamma we have not gone there. Only Sutta and Vinaya Pitaka were compiled. Now Sutta means what? Or Vinaya Pitaka means what? Vinaya Pitaka is basically rules and regulation that somebody who is a follower of Buddhism or Sangha, they have to follow. Right. So now over a period of time, what has happened? These rules are strict. Some were following and saying this is fine. Some were saying that this is not fine. With the rule only, the fighting has started coming. So that has to be addressed in the second Buddhist council. Right. So where basically there were two kinds. One basically Saviravadins and second is Mahasangika. Mahasangikas were more liberal, right? So they want to change the rules. They want to have, do not have to want a very strict rules as such. Staviravadins were basically more of a traditional or a conservative kind of thing. So they want to have a very strict rule, the basic rule that has been set. So because of that, there is a two division among themselves that has happened. One is Staviravadins and then second is Mahasangika.
Remember that is in second Buddhist council. Huh?
Okay. Now, if you look at it, basically, Dharma, basically whatever the rules of Dhamma, that was been compiled in the third one. Right, in the third, the compilation of Abhidhamma Sutta, right, that has been completely done. Now, Mahasangikas, as I told you, they were more liberal. Within that, there is one more offshoot, which is basically Lokottaravadin. So what they were telling that God, Buddha is not like any of us. You are also praying, I am also praying. You are also doing the same thing, I am also doing the same thing. Buddha was also doing the same thing. Does not mean that I and Buddha are same. Buddha is someone who has come to the earth from somewhere. He is a basically not belong to one time period. He is eternal. Right? Lokottaravadini. He is not just, Lokottar. The word itself is Lokis means world. So he is not just, he is a transcending personality. So that means that, the kind of, they were telling that you have to give him a special place. You have to, they were telling what? We will not, do the puja of Buddha. They were basically doing his relics and other things. But Murti Puja was not there because they were not considering him as a god as such, basically. Now, these Lokottaravadin have started telling that he is like a god only. He is not like any one of us, any one of a preacher. He is not like that. He is much more than that. So that is why it has started to, they have started, worshipping basically Buddha. They consider him as a god. Now, Staviravadins were against it. So because of this, what happened? Again, two sects has happened. Now, first fight has happened only with respect to rules. Now, if you want to follow Buddha, you want to teach it in Sanskrit, right? Then you follow, another sect itself. So within the Buddhism, two sects was happened. This Taviravadins has been, converted into Theravadas or Hinayana, and these Mahasangikas has led to Mahayana Buddhism, where, the preacher on Buddha himself has been treated as a god and started, the prayer has been with respect to Buddha has started. And then there is a concept of, the Bodhisattvas also has come, right? So there are two things, right? So in this, basically in the Hinayana, there was no concept of Bodhisattva. That means that what is difference between Bodhisattva and non-Bodhisattva? What is Bodhisattva? Others to attain. For example, if I am a person, I do meditate, I understand the reality, you get your own knowledge and you get moksha or nirvana. Now, if I do that, but now I am telling you, if you want nirvana, find your own truth, right? Another person want nirvana, let them find their own truth, because the truth is different for different person. Everybody has to find their own truth. I cannot make you to get the nirvana. Right, I can understand what I feel the truth. Through truth, I will become, I will attain the nirvana. So that means that nirvana is personal, individualistic. Now, what is it they are saying? You understood what is nirvana and you get it. Somewhere is a common man, he don't know it. How do we get nirvana now? So that means that if you are a true being, if you want everybody to get the state of enlightenment or nirvana, what you should do? Delay your nirvana because you already know what it is. Try to help other sentinels. Right, so that they can also get the nirvana. So the person, Bodhisattva is a person who delays his own nirvana to make sure that he can teach others. Right, so that is basically Bodhisattva. Mahayana Buddhism has told like that. No, don't be, self-oriented, try to get, delay your nirvana and start teaching others also. That is basically the concept of bodhisattva, right? That has been a central part of Mahayana Buddhism. Hinayana Buddhism is, getting the nirvana for yourself. You have to find your own way. So that is the basic difference between bodhisattva. So now in the fourth Mahayana Buddhism, with the patronage of Kanishka, he himself as a Mahayana Buddhism follower. So there was a proper division that happened within the Buddhism. One is Hinayana, one is Mahayana. Right? Now within this Taviravadins also there will be subsects coming. Right? One of the major was Sarvastavadin. Sarvastavadin means what? What is Sarvasta? Forever.
Forever.
Right? Forever. That means that there is nothing called past, nothing called present, nothing called future. All are, if you are watching a movie, right? Presently, if I am watching, this is the momentary truth. This is the only truth. No. You have already watched the previous part of movie also. That is also part of movie only. What is going to come in future, the remaining climax, that is also part of movie only. Whole movie is basically past also. You are watching live now. That is basically the present also. Upcoming is coming. The next part is also coming. That is, the remaining part. That is your future also. They say that everything is connected. You cannot see that I am in the present and the present is the only truth. There is nothing like that. The past is also truth, present is also truth, future is also truth. Everything is connected. Sarvastavarin, time is forever. But Buddhist core principle do not believe this. They believe the temporary movement of soul. Permanent soul is not there. Temporary movement of soul is there. So Sarvastavadin again divided into Sautantrika and Samitiya. Sautantrika, that follows the rule. Samitiya is another concept which say that Pudgula will come. So just have that basic understanding of Sarvastavadin. Within that there is a Samitiya as well as Sautantrika. This is under the Sarvastavadin, right? Which is a part of Taviravadin. Later all together these things become Hinayana. This will become Mahayana, right? In future Mahayana will also further divide into two. One Madhyamika school. Who gave it? Nagarjuna gave. Another is Yogacara school. This much, these are the major sets that you should be knowing. You should be knowing of Madhyamika school also, middle path, then Yogacara school also, which has been given by Asanga and Vasudatta, which is basically tells that consciousness is the only truth. Whatever that is come to your consciousness, that is the truth. Whatever that looks to you, they are not truth. Only under your consciousness. That means that they give an example of dream. You look at dream. Dream may you walk, you fight, you cry. But once you wake up, that dream is no more a truth. Like that your life is. Right? That is what basically he talks about. That means that whatever that you are seeing, all are temporary, they are not really truth. Whatever your consciousness will tell, that is the only truth. So how do you attain that consciousness? Do yoga, meditation. That is why Yogacara. Right? So that is basically mind consciousness is Yogacara. Madhyamika school is basically Nagarjuna, the middle path. These are the subsects of Mahayana Buddhism. This you should be knowing. That's it about the sects at the broader level. All right?
So to sum up, from whatever Adis have told you about the story, summing up, basically Buddhist council char hua. Coming to the point, after the death, there was fight. Within fight, immediately started the compilations. That compilation we call it as Buddhist literature. Buddhist literature, correct? Buddhist literature. With respect to this Buddhist literature, what we are having is three Pitakas. These three Pitakas, Jatak Kathas, Jatak tales, etc., etc. But this is more important. Three Pitakas. Which are the three Pitakas? As Adisha explained, Vinay Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, they were compiled immediately after first Buddhist council, while the Abhidhamma Pitaka was compiled in third Buddhist council. Got it? Yaad rakhna hai. Coming to the point, second point. From this Buddhist council, because of the ideological differences within the Buddhism itself, raised something called as the different sects. Correct? The most important, the origin of this goes back, as Aditya sir has told, basically goes to Sthavarvadins and Mahasangikas. Correct? Sthavarvadins, we can consider them as Theravadas type, correct? And Mahasangikas also, right? So I will not go into detail, but here I am telling you, here I am directly telling you what was this. Now this same people, they later became as what? Greater wheel and basically lesser wheel, that is Hinayana and Mahayana. So here I am writing Hinayana school and Mahayana. And और एक है which Aditya sir has not yet focused, that is Vajrayana. Vajrayana, but whatever he has spoken, I will just write it so that you can remember. So Hinayana, as we know, is the lesser vehicle, correct? It is more or less similar to Theravada, correct? Less Theravada, correct? Now, in this context, this Hinayana ka, he has already explained all the things, but iska subsects, I will just mention because you will need it. Iska subsects are as follows. Hinayana ka subsects are Sarvastavadin, Sarvastavadin. Second is basically आपका Sautantrika. I'm not telling sects उसके अंदर के subsects. I'm just writing the list up. Again I'm telling you, I'm just writing the list. अगर आपको इतना भी पता है कि this is belonging to Buddhism, हो गया काम. I'm not going into detail. I'm just writing the names, correct? Because there is lot of subsects में भी अलग-अलग sects है. उसके अंदर अलग-अलग sects है. But I'm not going to this complication. I'm just writing the names. Is it clear? So Sarvastavadin. Most important next is Samitya. Then what we are having is basically Sautantrika, then Vaibhashika, correct? Stavarvadins, correct? Vaibhashika, etc. These are asked, that is why I have written this. Is it clear? About their complete full philosophy, Aditya has just explained it right now. Then Mahayana, the greater wheel, इसके बारे में major two, correct? That is none other than Madhyamaka. And second, as Aditya sir has mentioned, Yogacara. So these are the two subsects. Iske subsects. I am just writing here. These are nothing but the subsects of आपका Hinayana, and these are also subsects of Mahayana. And there was third one, that is Vajrayana, sir.
Vajrayana is that sect basically which later came in the 7th, 8th century. That is related to tantric. Here they were having this, the rituals, mandaps, how they have to do all those things. That is, more of a black magic kind of other things basically that you see in the Tibetan kind of, Buddhism that you can see is the Vajrayana. That is more about ritual and complex ritual has started coming. More of a kind of early Hinduism, whatever there, that has to started coming. That is in the Vajrayana. That is again happened in the 7th, 8th century. So for that, you should have a basic understanding, because Vajrayana is not major philosophical school as such that you should be, having too much interest about. Right.
And in Mahayana, as Aditya sir has spoken, here you should know about the Bodhisattvas. Sattvas, similarly their core philosophy, what are their core philosophy, etc., etc. All these things you should be knowing similarly about Hinayana also. Now coming to the another most important point, here is something called as Buddhist architecture. Very, very important. Buddhist architecture. In this Buddhist architecture, you should be knowing about rock cut caves, paintings. Most important, caves and paintings. For example, paintings in Ajanta, Ellora. Then you are having caves. Caves के बारे में पता होना चाहिए पूरा. Then about the art, that is about Gandhara. You can also write about Gandhara. Sculptures. Gandhara, Mathura, and आपका Amravati. Amravati, Sarnath, sculptures, correct? Sculptures, correct? So these are the basic things that you should be having. One more very important, stupas, sir. Stupas, Chaitya and Vihara. Chaitya, Vihara. एक बार पूछा है Chaitya and Vihara के बारे में. What are they? Why they are there? And one more theme, sir, about edicts.
Ashoka.
तो मतलब if you we already spoken about it, तो वो भी पता होना चाहिए, पिलर वगैरह सारे. So I hope you are getting the point. So in Buddhism, you should be having at least this much idea. That is, again I am summing it up. I started with this part. That is none other than आपका origin, sermon, spread कैसे हुआ, monks, संघास में important, I would say monks. You should be knowing teachings, उनके teachings, philosophy, core philosophy. Then आपका so-called Buddhist concept. From here only everything is there. You should know about literature. From here only you understand literature. From here only you will understand the sects. That is the literature, sects, and आपका architecture. Now to sum up, finally what you should know is about the difference between Jainism and Buddhism, which you can also put it down under one particular chart. Correct? That is आपका concept. I will be not writing in detail, but here you should be knowing concept with respect to Jainism. What was the view of the Jainism? This is assignment because we already discussed in detail. And Buddhism, Jainism and Buddhism. So in this concept, so you will be having different points. For example, what is the basic doctrine of something called as Jainism and Buddhism? For example, Jainism क्या बोलता है? Basically आपका three ratnas. So here you write three ratnas, etc., etc., which are here you write basically आपका अष्टांगिका मार्ग, मध्यमिका मार्ग, etc. Then second is आपका belief in the soul के बारे में, correct? So with respect to belief in the soul, basically Buddhism directly does not accept it, while it does accept that every living non-living object में होता है. Then speaks about non-violence. Both of them speaks about ahimsa also, non-violence. Then fourth aspect you can consider it as God. So basically Buddhism neither accepts neither rejects आपका God, rather it recognizes, Jainism recognizes the God. I hope you're understanding. Then what we are having fifth is basically आपका philosophical concept, philosophy, and last is आपका sects. So basically these are the 6 major points which you should be knowing about Jainism and Buddhism to sum it up. I hope you are getting the point. So if you are knowing all these things, then trust me, what are the questions that Aditya sir is going to discuss right now, none of the questions you will not be able to answer. ऐसा होगा ही नहीं, because everything is done in this basically 45 minutes. हमने इसीलिए लिया. Once you have got this idea about how it was evolved, story पता है तो all the questions now will be very easy. Sects पता चले, ये पता चला. Same goes for आपका councils, same goes for the Jainism, Buddhism, correct? So now we will start with basically आपका so called as discussion of the PYQs of Jainism and Buddhism. So Aditya sir will be discussing about it, okay? I hope you understood and enjoyed. बस इतना, whatever is written 4-5 pages उतना ही आपको रटना है for the prelims. Trust me, you can solve all the PYQs from that. Got it?
Start with
ये ले.
We'll start with Buddhism and Jainism questions. Alright. So first I will do that, and then I will go to architecture and painting. Right. So yes, this is the first question. Right, asked in 2024. Right, 25 there were no question on Buddhism and Jainism, but every year if you see how many questions are come, I have taken only from 2011. So you will understand how many questions. Every year 1 or 2 questions will be there on Buddhism, Jainism. Right. So with reference to ancient India, Gautam Buddha was generally known by which of the following epithets? Epithets का मतलब है, what is that? Titles, right? What titles that has been given to Gautam Buddha, right? Try to use your basic understanding and try to this. So what is the Shakya Muni is called as? Muni is what? Sage, right? So sage of Shakyas. He belongs to Shakya clan, that you know. That means that he is considered as a Rishi of Shakya clan. That makes sense, right? So 2 has to be there, right? 2 will be there, 2 will be there, right? Then Tathagata Naya Putta, right? What is this Naya Putta? Putta means what? Putra, right? So that is basically son. Son belongs to a Naya clan. That is basically for Jaina or Mahavira. It is not for Buddha. Buddha is not belong to a Naya clan. Naya Putta means Putta of the Naya clan, right? So that is basically, it is for Jaina, or sorry, Mahavira, right? Mahavira. So 1 should not be there, 2 should be there. So that means that answer will be 2 and 3, right? So what is 3? That is Tathagata. Tathagata means he comes, or thus he goes, thus he comes. Whatever the way we want to read, we can read. What is the meaning of thus he comes, thus he goes? That means that basically he has come here, does his job, then gone, right? So he has come as a person, changed the entire system, he is gone. So right, that is why he is called as Tathagata. Tathagata means thus he has gone, thus he has come. Also he has been called as Bhagwan, right? So Bhagwan means basically Bhagwan Buddha. Many a times we will use. Bhagwan is a title. It is not his name, right? Bhagwan is a title that we use with him. So that way also it is another title that you should be knowing. So that means that you should be knowing about titles of Mahavira, and that is the basic thing that you should be knowing, right? Next, in which of the following 2023, in which one of the following region Danyakataka, which was flourished as a prominent Buddhist sister under Mahasanghikas located?
So here this chart which we have written ना, उसमें महासिंहिकास भी लिखा है अपन ने. देखो सेकंड बुद्धिस्ट काउंसिल वगैरह, वो भी साइमल्टेनियसली देखते चलना कहाँ पे आया, क्या था उनका वगैरह, बिकॉज नेक्स्ट टाइम दैट कैन बी अ प्रोबेबल क्वेश्चन, राइट.
वो महासंघिका. Now, see, first of all, you are always start thinking, right? I want you to think first. Mahasanghikas, whether it is after Mahayana, before Mahayana. Before Mahayana, right? After that, Lokottaravadin came. After that, that has further led to the Mahayana emergence, right? So that is the story. So when Mahayana, has been emerged, when fourth Buddhist council, when it has happened, you try to link with all the history. Kanishka time. So Kanishka time, when Kanishka's time was 70 to 80 AD was basically the Saka era that we know. So that is basically 1st century AD. So we are talking about before 1st century AD now, because Mahasanghikas was much before Mahayana Buddhism, right? So the division itself has happened when second Buddhist council. So it has to be later than the second Buddhist council. Yeah. First basically in the second Buddhist council, first Buddhist council mein rules has defined. Vinayak Pitaka has defined. What is the rule that will govern the monks? Now some rules, if somebody is strictly following it, orthodox, they were called as Tavaravadins. Tavaravadins. Who are more liberal, don't want these strict rules, they are called as Mahasanghikas. This division or a great schism has happened in the second Buddhist council. Now within this, since they were more liberal, they are considered Buddha as more like a god. So within them came Lokottaravadin. Lokottaravadin means he do not belongs to this land. He is above this world. So Buddha has been started considering as God. So this has further led to, this philosophy has further led to worship of Buddha. So that means that when worship of Buddha, these people, Stavaravadin, saying that what is this, Buddha cannot, he himself is not believing in God, whether there is not or not. Now you himself has made him God now. So there is a lot of confusion now, right? Then the fight has started coming. Now as a king Kanishka, he wanted to have that, if you know Gandhara art, where the sculpture is there, Mathura art, Buddha ka sculpture is there. That means that if you look at before, right? For example, Sanchi Stupa, do you have Buddha's ka statue there? No. Only Buddha's ka footsteps are available as a mark of relics of him, remains of him, because that was a part of Hinayana Buddhism. They were not having a Buddha as an idol. So now Kanishka, if you know, he is basically someone who has been supported or patronized the Gandhara art also, Mathura art also. So Mahayana Buddhism came later. So this has further, since he is the king, he believes in having the, an iconography for the Buddha. So he supported Mahayana people. So there is a proper division has happened in the fourth Buddhist council. That is basically Mahayana, who believes Buddha as a god and a statue, but Mahasanghikas only. See, because these were anyways, basically they were very, very strict, full follower, they are not liberal. From here, basically, Buddha is considered as out of this world. That means that he is considered God, not like normal people. Because of this only, that further led to worship of Buddha as an image. So that is why this has led to Mahayana Buddhism. Mahasanghikas is basically an offshoot of or a precursor to the Mahayana Buddhism. Right? So this is whatever that they were following strictly, they completely separated from Mahayana. These were together called as Hinayana. If something is Mahayana, another remaining is lesser vehicle or the Hinayana. So that we will be considering as Stavaravadins. So isme basically the Stavaravadins are basically Hinayana. So they were the precursor to the Hinayana. Within that basically Sarvastavadin will come, And within that Sarvastivadi, when the debate happens, some will tell that, forever it is truth. There is a eternal truth, time is eternal, forever. So then some people say it is momentary. So within that, who did not agree with Sarvastavadin, they become Sautantrika and Sammitya. So they divided that time is momentary and time is, so that is the basic idea, right? Now Mahasangikas, first you have to understand that pre-Kanishka we are talking. So in how I exam I will think basically, right? So I am just talking about the thought process. It is not that always we study and do that. I know that Mahasangika story I know, and it has happened after the second Buddhist council I know. Now I know that Mahayana has come in the 1st century AD during the Gandhara, right, the Kanishka period. So Mahasangika is much earlier than that. So that means that Gandhara cannot be articulated because Gandhara has been developed only during the time of Kanishka. So Gandhara cannot be your answer because where basically it is. Now if you look at Kalinga, which is Karavela dynasty, or the king Karavela has come much later, basically Kalinga dynastica, if you see, right? So that means that cannot also be a Mahasangika. So Mahasangikas has patronized under Satavahanas and Ishwavakus. That is a little earlier, right? After the post Mauryas, if you see, the Satavahanas, they belong to basically which region? Andhra region. So the Danya Katika is basically in the Andhra region. If you see your NCERT book also, in the map Danya Katika has been given, right? It is flourished as a major center. Along with that, other centers for Nagarjuna Konda, Amaravati, initially under Satavahana, right? Then basically Gantasala. Gantasala we have studied, where it is a port city during the Gupta period. They have given Gantasala. This is basically what? It was a port city during it was also a Buddhist center. When I am discussing this thing, I have told you that it was a Buddhist center as well as a port city also. So these were basically belongs to Mahasangikas, right? Then, to study about Magadha was not there. It was much earlier seen basically. So basically Mahasangikas has been, emerged during the period of Satavahanas, then Ishwavakus in the Andhra region, basically Amaravati and Nagarjuna Konda. Alright, that means that it will lead to your further understanding of Gandhara art, you have to understand. Right, so that you have to understand what is Gandhara art, what is Mathura art, what is Amaravati art, what is Saranath art. Here you have to study about what is the material used. Right, for example in Mathura, red spotted sandstone has been used. Right. Similarly, if you look at Gandhara, blue grey schist has been used. Right. Similarly, Amaravati mein if you see, marble has been used. Right. Saranath, Chunar sandstone has been done. Right. So that is basically here it is schist. Mathura mein red spotted sandstones. Right. So now Amaravati mein more of a marble. Then basically here red sand or the sandstone or chunar that you can see in the Saranath region. So that is basically. Then how Buddha has been represented in Gandhara art. Since it is more of a Greek influence, Apollo kind of characteristic, curly hair and more personality of Greek warrior kind of Buddha. Right? When you come to Mathura, it is more of a Brahminism, where he is in a more of a meditative pose, calm. Right, kind of a Brahmin he has been showed, because during the Shunga and other things, the Brahminical emergence was happening at that point of time, so he has shown like that. Right, similarly you have to understand seated Buddha can be seen in Saranath as well. So that you should be having the basic understanding, and who are the kings who patronize these kind of arts also you should have a basic understanding. Right, so that is one thing that you have to have a broader, right. Now next, stupa. The concept of stupa is Buddhist origin. The stupa was generally repository of relics. Stupa was a votive and commemorative structure in Buddhist tradition. How many statements are correct? It is generally a repository of relics, right? That is correct. So in the exam, now anyways, now you cannot eliminate anything. Only I can eliminate is none. One is so correct, right? But I still be left with 3 options, right? Okay. Now it is a votive and commemorative structure. What is votive and commemorative? What is commemorative means? Symbolic. Commemorative means it will give you advice, what to done, what is dharma, right, like that basically. So same with the votive. So it is generally votive also, commemorative also, because Buddhist ideas has been propagated through it. So it is commemorative also. So that is also correct. Is stupa Buddhist origin? No. Right, it is not a Buddhist origin. There is a story, right, where before that also for kings they were doing in stupa, and it is not only in India, in other parts it has been taken. So stupa was already existing. Again, this is also given in your NCERT. The same statement has been taken from the NCERTs here, right? So stupa is not a Buddhist concept in origin. So they have adopted it in long run during the Maurya period, right? It was not during the Buddha they have done, right? Buddha time there was no this thing. During the Mauryas, they have been influenced the structure by outsiders, and then stupa has been built during the Maurya period, right? So that means that it is not Buddhist origin, right? So the first statement is wrong, second and three are correct. So only two statements are your answer, right? Again the stupa, that is a repetitive theme. When stupa comes, now they might not ask you about basic stupa now. What the architecture of stupa can be asked? What is Vedika? What is Medi? What is Anda? What is Harmika? So that is the different part of the stupa, constituent of the stupa, that you should be knowing. What are Toranas? So you should be having a broader picture about the stupas. What are its constituents and which are the important stupas, right? Sanchi stupa, Bharut stupa. So Sanchi stupa, during whose time is that happened? What Shungas and Satavahanas had done for Sanchi stupa? Before it was, then they built the Torana, right? Similarly, Bharat stupa is also during the time of Shungas. So you should be knowing basically who is the patronized kind of stupa and important stupas, where it is been located and which king has been patronized. So that is the basic understanding you should have, and the structure of stupa becomes very, very important, because now again if they want to go further on the stupa, they will start asking about its constituent or the patronage or the various important stupas that is allotted in the there in the located in the India. So like that you should be going one step ahead of the stupa and prepare well stupa. When you get a keyword, because this is a recent question, whatever the screenshot I am having, you assume that that is from 2022, 23, 24, 25. Before I have question, so I have just taken the printed question only. For this I have taken from the directly from the question, so that I can differentiate myself which was the latest one, which was the earliest one. So in the last 4 years you can also see that whatever the screenshot is there, that is from the last 4 years ka paper, how the questions are coming. All right, next. With reference to religious practices in India, Stanakwasi sects belongs to. What is Stanakwasi? Stanak means what? Prayer hall. So who has started it? Jainism. Shvetambara, Murti Puja. Against the Murti Puja, meditation hall mein you go and do meditation. Don't worry about this Murti and all. If you want to read the God, this much of ornation and other things are not required. All you need is a prayer hall and that calm mind where you are praying. So after this what came? Terapanthi. So that you should be having the basic understanding, and who is the founder of it, right? Just founder would be more than sufficient. During which period it has come. So that is one time period, right? Second, founder, and what is the one line philosophy. Just have the one line philosophy. What is the meaning of it? Now don't see philosophical meaning, that itself they will have too many this thing. Then if you want to study subsects also, that becomes too much to study. Shvetambara, Digambara itself is too much to study. Within that subsects ka, if you have started philosophy in detail, then it becomes tough. Just understand what is their basic philosophy in one liner. That is why I am always telling you all the philosophies in one liner to make you understand what they are. That's it. All right. Next. With reference to Indian history, who among the following is called future Buddha, who is yet to come to save the world? That is Maitreya, right? So there are different Buddhas are there. Avalokiteshvara is there, right? So who is basically, someone who is basically, there are different Bodhisattvas who is coming and helping you to get your cenital. So who are basically nothing but someone who is holding that Padma or lotus. He is called Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara, another name is Lokeshvara. Same, Avalokiteshvara, Lokeshvara, both are same, and they are nothing but Padmapanis. All are the same name, Padmapani, Avalokiteshvara, right, and Lokeshvara. They are just epithets. The Padmapani means he is holding and he is basically teaching you how to get that this, right? So that means that, you know, he is a man of compassion. Peace and compassion is Padmapani, right? Then there will be different bodhisattvas you are supposed to study. One, Padmapani. Next, Vajrapani. Next, Manjushri. And then Maitreya. Okay, Maitreya is future Buddha. Vajrapani is someone who is holding the light, right? So that is thunderbolt. So he is basically giving you a confidence that I will protect you, right? So so here it is more about compassion. Here it is more about protection. So don't worry, Buddha is there, he will come and protect you. So that is basically the Vajravani Buddhism, or it is another type of bodhisattva. Similarly, Manjushri you should be knowing, and then Maitreya. These are the four important bodhisattvas that you should be having a broader understanding about, right? All right. Now similarly, when I am saying Maitreya in Hindu mythology, the Kalki you should be knowing. Kalki coming under the Vaishnavism as the 10th incarnation who has not come to the world. After the end of the Kali Yuga, he will come and start the Satya Yuga. So the Kalki is similarly that can be get influenced through the Maitreya concept. So you should be knowing the future who is coming to save this world is Kalki, right? Next. Which of the following are features of Mahayana Buddhism? Right, what are the features? Deification of Buddha. Buddha is seen as a deity or deity or a god. So deification of Buddha, is it a part of Mahayana Buddhism? Yes. Treading the path of Bodhisattvas? Yes. Image worship and rituals? Yes. So all of them are part of Mahayana Buddhism. Right, the language they have used is Sanskrit, and initially in the Hinayana the language used was Pali, right? That is common man's language, because because of this problem with the Sanskrit only they wanted to reach the common mass, they have started with this. So that is basically what you are supposed to understand about Mahayana Hinayana features. Now, with reference to the religious history of the India, consider the following. Sthaviravadins belong to Mahayana Buddhism. Is it correct? Sthaviravadins belongs to which part of Siddhism? Hinayana or Theravada, both are same. Theravada is the original name. Now when you have Manayana, ulta of it is called as Hinayana. When Manayana is the only name that has been given, greater vehicle. So that means that what is remaining one? Lesser vehicle. Like that Hinayana name has come. Otherwise Hinayana original name was Theravada that they were following, right? So that is basically one. So Sthaviravadins belongs to what? Hinayana Buddhism, right? Similarly Mahasangikas is basically precursor to Mahayana Buddhism. That you should be having a better understanding. Now Lokottaravadin is an offshoot of Mahasangika sect of Buddhism. That is correct. Lokottaravadin means Buddha has been transcendental. He is not belongs to this world. He is come here to serve something, right? So he has been considered as offshoot of Mahasangika Buddhism. So second statement is correct. Deification of Buddha by Mahasangikas fostered the Mahayana Buddhism. Over a period of time, as they have done the deification, what it fostered to? Mahayana Buddhism, that is a complete sect has been divided. This is the story. Just if you know it, you know the answer, right? So the first one was incorrect. So if I remove 1, it is 2 and 3 only, 3 only. That means that 3 is anyways is correct. Second one you have to understand is Lokottaravadin. So that is telling that Buddha is a transcendental in this world, right? Now this is one kind of question which you should be having broader understanding. Otherwise it will be very difficult to solve this. This is also, you can see the screenshot. That means that this is a question that has been asked recently in 23 or 22. Historical person, what they are known as? Okay. Arya Deva, Dignana, and Nathamuni. Who is Nathamuni? Nathamuni is that person who compiled Alwar's ka complete literature. I told you in the morning, that is Nalariya Divya Prabandham. The Alwar ka literature was compiled by whom? Nathamuni. So that means that he is basically a Vaishnavite. Alwars are also Vaishnavite. He compiled them and made it. So he is a Vaishnavite. So Natha Muni is correct. Right? Now Dignana, right? So this is something completely factual, you cannot help too much about it. But Dignana is basically a Buddhist scholar, right? A Buddhist school of logic. He is the founder of Buddhist school of logic. Okay. Everything will have a cause and effect. You should know, without having a logic, you should not accept anything that you see, right? Whatever that you listen, that is not, even though it has been told by Buddha, you have to verify it. So that is, with logic you accept anything. Blindly you don't accept anything. That is basically a logic, right? So, and he and Dharmakirti are two founders of or proponents of this Buddhist school of logic. Okay. Now, who is this Aryadeva? Aryadeva was disciple of Nagarjuna. He is a disciple of Nagarjuna. So what Nagarjuna is known for? Founder or propounder of Madhyamika school of Buddhism. So that means that Aryadeva is also a pupil of him. He followed the Madhyamika school of Buddhism. So he is a Buddhist scholar, not a Jaina scholar. Right? So Jaina scholar you will be knowing, right? Hemachandra. Right? So last time when we were discussing about the the first part of the sources of Indian history, Hemachandra Suri, all these are basically, Jainist scholars, right? But again, as I told you, you cannot mug up all the list of Jaina scholars and Buddha scholars just because this question has been asked. There is a limit to it. Major scholar you should have, major Buddhist scholar you can have. But don't worry too much about one kind of question where, this has come, so I will make all the list and prepare. That is not going to happen. That is a wrong strategy to attack, because we have to come out of this college or a school mindset. 100 out of 100, 98 is less, right? So that kind of mindset, because you have seen, right, this year 10th standard ka result, there are 30, 40, 625 out of 625. So since people are coming from that mindset, right? So 99%, so there are hundreds and thousands. So now when they come here, they want to attack and get all the question, because among their peer group, they are known for someone who is very intelligent. So their people say that, even if one question, why I will leave? I will study 4 material and I will get it. Right? He will ask from the 5th material, you will lose it. So that is what it is going to happen. Right? So don't try to be that person where I want to be a perfectionist. It is a game of averages at the end of the day. I want to make sure that I do above average in all the subject, you are clear. That's it. Right? I don't want to become master of any subject. Even if the small things are there, it is completely fine. No, because I don't want to tell you that this you also can prepare and do in the exam, then actually I am lying, right? So, and I am telling you or, putting you to a wrong path altogether. Always understand that as long as it is not logical to remember all the things, then you are not worried much about. But Nagarjuna, if you miss, that is your mistake, right? But his disciple Dignana, if you are missing, or Aryadeva you are missing, then it is fine. But if you are missing Nagarjuna saying that, sir, you told that not to mug up most of the facts. So that is not what I am saying. Don't go too deep. Who is, Aryadeva ka disciple, who is there? That you don't need to worry. Have Madhyamika school, Nagarjuna, concept of Shunyatar, emptiness. Right? So what Nagarjuna says, concept of Shunyatar, emptiness. So there is nothing called one full. Everything is at that time. Right? So that is basically the Nagarjuna ka Madhyamika school. Basically you should have a broader understanding. Right? Next, Harshavardhana convened Prayag assembly. Correct? What is this Prayag assembly? He convened 2 assemblies. When we have studied about Harshavardhana, we have studied that he has convened 2 assemblies. One is Prayag, one is Kanauj. Now Kanauj, why he did? It was his capital. He called Huan Sang and also other scholars also, so that they can also understand about Buddhism. So to debate. And to honor personally Huan Sang, he has done this. That is, Kanauj assembly. However, this is basically Prayag assembly is once in a 5-year kind of assembly, quinquennial kind of assembly, where all the religious leader, other thing used to come. It is also called as Mahamoksha Parishad. So Mahamoksha Parishad mein what he is doing? He will do the Dana Dharma. Right? So always giving everything. Except his dress, he gives everything to the people once in a 5 years. on that one particular day. So that is basically Mahamoksha Parishad. That is, it is not just belongs to one religion but related to all other. So now what is this? He wanted to popularize only Mahayana form of Buddhism. Is it correct? No. Right? He was a follower of, Shaiva also. Right? So, or also he is Buddhism also he has supported. So that does not mean that only Mahayana. So or the reason is incorrect. It is nothing to do with only Mahayana also. It is all the religious that will come. Mahamoksha Parishad mein, it is more about giving the gift and other to the people. So that means that you should be knowing about Harshavardhanata policies. As we have also discussed, his literature also you should be knowing. From his part, the literature becomes very important. And two important works on Huan Song, what is his observation. Then Bana Bhattaka Harsha Charita, you should be knowing. Then basically Harshavardhanaka overall understanding, how he has come, who are his contemporaries, that basic understanding you should be having. So which book he has written? Ratnavali, Priyadarshika, Nagananda. These three books are very, very important. So you should be knowing about the works of Harshavardhana. Right. So that is basically, so second is incorrect, first is correct. So A is true, but R is false. Okay. Anekantavada is a core theory and philosophy of which of the following? That is Jainism, multi-sidedness. Now how it has been given? So if you tell that there is multi-sidedness, then what is the way to approach it? If it is a multi-sided truth, one truth has multiple sides, then how do you basically, which theory will say that, how do you approach it? That is Shayadvada or Syadvada. So may be a truth. You accept that anything that you see, don't accept it as an eternal truth, may be a truth. Right? So that means that is Syadvada is a logical explanation for Anekantavada. Anekantavada core theory. Everything has multiple truth. Then so what should I do? Then you think whatever that you see as one side truth. Maybe it is truth. Don't consider it as wrong also. Don't consider it as eternal truth also. Consider it as a maybe truth. Right? So that is how you approach this Anekantavada. So Anekantavada is the core philosophy. And to approach that Anekanta, we have Shadvada. That is, my pronunciation as it is some Hindi words, it can be sometimes, Syadvada. Right? It is not Shayadvada. Now that Syad has become Shayad now, basically. Right? So it is, so I have remembered like that. So Shayad is there, so Shayad. So it is maybe kind of theory. So maybe a truth is a kind of the logical explanation for this Anekantavada. So this basically comes under Jainism. Right? So Sikhism, one God, Langar, all these features that we have discussed. Right? Similarly, it is nothing to do with Vaishnavism. Buddhism is Madhyama Marg. That is the theory that will tell, don't go in the complete ascetic also. Don't, do this thing also. So even the Ahimsa is there. Ahimsa means you don't even plant the tree also. Because when you are sowing a soil, you are killing the bacteria or a microorganism. That is what basically the complete Ahimsa that Jainism was telling. Right? So, but what Buddhism was saying? You don't kill, but if somebody gives you a meat as your bhiksha, then you can eat. But you should not kill. So that is basically a central path. You cannot, you are hungry, someone is giving, because he himself only eats the, let's say there is a hunter. He cannot give you, vegetable sambar here. He is hunted something, so he will give you that. So you can accept it. But you don't kill as a person, basically. So that is basically, even in Ahimsa also there was a kind of this understanding. So it was always taking a middle path rather than taking the extreme. So that is the middle path that you should be knowing. Alright. Next. Lord Buddha sometimes shown with the hand gesture called Bhumisparsha Mudra. Right. He is showing to the earth. That is Bhumisparsha Mudra. Now what is the meaning of this Bhumisparsha Mudra? Buddha is calling the earth to watch over Mara and to prevent Mara from disturbing its meditation. Second, Buddha calling of the earth to witness his purity and chastity despite the temptation of Mara. Similarly, Buddha's reminder to his followers that they are all arise from the earth and finally dissolve into the earth and thus life is transitory. Both statement A and B are correct in this context. B. Right, so Mara is basically someone who is coming with the temptation. When he is about to get his nirvana, so this is happening. Right, So Bhumi Sarfya mein he is touching the earth and showing, because Mara comes and asks, you get nirvana, but who will witness your nirvana? Who will tell you that you will tomorrow go and tell the people that I am enlightened? Then people will tell, how do I know that you are enlightened? Tomorrow somebody. So who is witnessing your enlightenment? Then he shows the earth. Earth is basically show through his mudra. Earth is seeing and telling to witness it. And whatever during his Mara, the temptation of Mara, I still remain poor and get. So the earth, the whole earth is itself is witnessing. So through his mudra, he is telling the earth to look it. So that is basically your this thing. So Mara asked the question, right, about temptation, how you are, who will observe you, who will say that you are enlightened, how do people believe? Then he shows who is your witness, earth is the witness, right? So similarly, you should be knowing Mara. Then you should be knowing about, when I am talking about mudra, next time it can be question about different mudras. So there are different mudras that has been explained in Buddhism. One is Abhaya mudra, right? What is Abhaya mudra? Abhaya, that is he is telling, as a protector, he is giving that confidence to his followers. That is Abhaya mudra, right? In most of your Gandhara art, you can see the Abhaya mudra, right? So in the Gandhara art, where he can show like this, don't worry, I am here. That is your Abhaya mudra. Then there is something called Varada mudra, right? Varada mudra, right? Then there is something called Dhyana mudra. Dhyana mudra means what? He is in the Dhyana's position. So in his tales, whenever they are showing, Jataka tells me life story of Buddha, everywhere they are showing, before Bhumi Sparsha mudra, he will have Dhyana mudra. That means that he will be doing the Dhyana mudra. Then basically once that is done, final, just before that, this person will come and ask that, who will witness your, enlightenment. Then he will show the Bhumi Sparsha mudra, say he will show the earth as the witness. So that is, Dhyana mudra is basically this, right? So Sarnath art and those things basically show the Dhyana mudra, right? And Bhumi Sparsha mudra has been mostly shown in Pala art, right? That you should be knowing. So they can ask about, influenced by this, ask about Pala ka Buddhist art also. Pala was patronizing the Buddhism, that Dharmapala has constructed Vikramashila, right? Devapala has, told the Southeast Asian people that, they want to study in Nalanda, I will give you 5 villages. Using that revenue, you can use that. Nalanda, a monastery in the Nalanda they have constructed using the revenue of the 5 villages. So he was more of a supporter of Buddha. Palas was supporter of the Buddhism, that you should be knowing. And then Odentpuri, university was also done in Bihar with respect to Palas. So that means that, since Bhumi Sparsha mudra is mostly shown in Palas ka architecture, you should be, this can be get inspired to Pala architecture also. So you should be knowing about that also. It is that, one link from there as an examiner, what I can get inspired. Then what can be asked. So that is how you have to analyze the PYQ. It is, one mudra, different mudra you study, right? Then understand the concept about it. All right. Next. With reference to ancient India, which of the following were common to both Buddhism and Jainism? Right. Avoidance of extreme of finesse and enjoyment. Both were telling to avoid the extreme. What were telling to avoid the extreme? Buddhism was telling to avoid the extreme. Jainism was always talking about finesse, extreme. So that means that it can be a difference between Jainism and Buddhism, or is it common between Jainism and Buddhism? No. One is about extreme, one is about middle path. So the first statement is incorrect. So if I remove one, answer will be 2 and 3. So what is the second statement? Indifference to the authority of Veda. So when we say heterodox school, right, what is the meaning of heterodox school? Those who believed in the authority of the Veda, we are calling them orthodox school. Orthodox means their thought process is not orthodox. The way orthodox that we use today is very different. Orthodox means they are believing in the authority of Veda. Those who will not believe in the authority of Veda and they believe have their own system, we call them as a heterodox. Who are the major heterodox school then? One, Jainism. Second, Buddhism. Third, at that point of time, Ajivikas. Right. So Ajivikas, who has started Ajivikas? Makkali Goshala. What is their basic philosophy? Niyati philosophy. Right. They are telling that everything is fate. You don't do karma, that will come back to you. Nothing is like that. Everything is predetermined. Tomorrow, it has been already decided how you are going to die, how you are going to live, whether you become rich or poor. Whatever you do now, it doesn't mean that, it will give you. So don't worry about all those things. Just be, it is already decided. So it is a predetermined. Nothing called you study Veda, you follow this, something good will come, nothing will. If it wants to come, it is coming because it is already pre-decided. If it not to come, then irrespective of what you do, you don't get it. If you want to get it, something will happen, miracle, you will get it. It's just like that. I tried 5-6 questions, all of them become correct, that is already decided. Right? Right. So that is your Niyati principle. Right. So that is how it is. Then denial of efficacy of rituals. They did not believe in rituals. So that is already you are knowing. Next. Which of the statements are applicable to Jain doctrine? The surest way of annihilating karma is to practice pines. Pines means tapas. Right. So if you want to go out of your karma, has to go back from you. Right. So there is how they have decided, though they have told that there is a soul in everything, they have considered two things. Right. One is jiva, that is about soul. Another is ajiva. Right. Your karma is a part of ajiva. So whatever this karma you do, this will come and attach to this soul. Now what has happened? You are bounded by your previous karmas. It is not going. Right. Whatever that you would do, that your karma is still holding you back. So that means that basically you have only two options now. One, not to get any more karma. That means that it is telling that don't do anything wrong now. Follow the rules. Second, you do tapas in such a way that you ask for that karma to go off. One, not acquiring a new karma is one part of it. And whatever the karma that you have already acquired from your previous birth, that through your pines you can annihilate it. So the surest way of annihilating karma is to practice the pines. That is, when you are doing tapas, you are not doing any more mistake now. Right? You are not stealing, you are not, because you are already in the pines and doing the thing. So that means that you are already not getting new karma also, and through the pines you are basically getting out your older karma also. So that is the surest way of annihilating karma is to practice pines. Okay? So this is correct. Right? Every object, even the smallest particle, has a soul. Yes. Second is also correct. Right? That is only left with the option 1, 2 and 3. That is, karma is the bane of the soul, must be ended. Right? So that is already we are deciding. Right? So karma is basically carrying from one janma to other janma, that is rebirth. But the Buddhist principle basically talks about the concept of annata. Right? The Buddhist concept with respect to soul is what? Annata. That is, what is annata? No self or no self, you can say. That means that soul is temporary. It is not carrying from next also like that. Whatever that we are doing, we are living in a moments. Okay, so whatever you are doing, that is only the thing that you have to carry. So this is always a question. Then how soul will move from you? From the next, how it carries. This is the kind of question that always debated to different school of Buddhism, but just have an understanding that he is talking about momentary, they talk about it carry from one birth to other birth. Right? So that is basically the difference. The concept of annata versus soul in Jainism, you should be having a broader. Whenever I am talking about Jainism, you think that the same question tomorrow can be asked with respect to Buddhism. It is not how theme will be divided. Okay, this soul about Jainism he has understood. Next year I cannot ask the soul about Jainism, it has already asked. So what is my option? I go to Buddhism and ask the similar concept. Right? So that is how it has been checked. Right? So for example, Bodhisattva has been told. Then there will be something called in Hinayana Arhat. This is a word used in, that is to get yourself nirvana, not helping others. Make yourself, you get nirvana. So Arhat, Bodhisattva. When Bodhisattva question is there, next year the term meaning of Arhat can be asked, because that is similar concept but in a different religion, right? I mean different sects of the religion. That is the difference between Hinayana and Mahayana, Arhat versus Bodhisattva. So you should be having the similar terminology that is related to opposite, right? Okay, all right. So which one of the best describes the concept of nirvana in Buddhism? What is Nibbana? Nirvana has been taken from a word Nibbana. Right? So that is a Sanskrit word. What is the meaning of it? It is to extinguish. Right? So Nibbana means basically extinguish. Right? So something you have to take out from your body. You have to release it. Right? So Nirvana, extinction of flame of desire. Once your desire goes, flame of desire has been extinguished, then you are getting Nirvana. So what is this result of Nirvana? That is a complete state of bliss and rest. Once you get Nirvana, then you feel that bliss. Then you fade off this. So though it is nothing to do with, how do you get Nirvana is coming out of or taking extinguish the flame of desire. Once that happens, then what is the end result of it? That is your state of bliss, state of happiness. So that will, as a result, it will come. That is not the concept of Nirvana per se. How do you feel after eating it? Right? Something. So that is basically the effect of Nirvana is state of bliss and this. So the answer is the extinction of the flame of the desire. So there are three things that has to taken out to get this Nirvana. One is your desire. Second is basically your aversion. Right? What is aversion? Hate towards the other. Not only desire, you are hating somebody is getting advantage, but you are basically having jealous about it. That is a hate. So that also has to be taken. Then third, ignorance. These are the three things that you have to completely remove to get the Nirvana in Buddhism. That is desire, aversion and ignorance. Okay, this you should be knowing about. So state of bliss, complete annihilation of self is not that we are talking about. Then basically the mental stage beyond all comprehension. I don't know what it is Nirvana means. All beyond comprehension means I cannot explain it, it is something. Right? So when you watch a movie and ask how did you feel? Cannot explain in the words. It is beyond my explanation. So that is basically what is the fourth statement. That is not Nirvana. They explain everything. It is a state of bliss. And how do you achieve it? Through the extinction of flame of the desire. Right? Next. Some Buddhist rock called Chaityas, while some other called Viharas. What are the difference between two? Now, forget about reading the answer. What is Vihara? Where we will use Vihara? Vihara is basically staying places. Right? Now, what is that? Which Vihara? Right? Right? There are many Viharas that we see. That is basically staying places. Right? Chaityas means what? Where they go and do the rituals and temples where they will. So that is Vihara is a place of worship. Is it correct? No. Chaitya is a place of worship. Yes. Vihara is a dwelling place of the monk where they are going to stay. That is their Viharas. So that is basically Viharas and Chaitya. Simple meaning they have. Right. Now in Ajanta caves, right, Udaygiri caves, or you can see in for Ajivikas, Ashoka and Dasharatha has given in which caves? Baraburi caves or Nagarjuni caves that we can, Lomas Rishi caves that we have discussed in our previous classes, right? Next, with reference to history of Buddhist history and culture, consider the following: famous shrine and location. That is famous monasteries that is located in India. That has been asked. You have to just list down. Remember the places only, not about them basically are not required, or who is the founder of that monastery, that history and all not required. Just have that monastery because they are more of a Vajrayana kind of part, right? So you should just have a broader understanding, right? So Tabo monastery and temple complex, where it is? Spiti Valley. Where is Spiti Valley? Himachal Pradesh. Right. So this is correct. Now Lohotsav Laksang temple. Right. Even it is very difficult to pronounce also. Right. So Nako, that is correct. But Nako is again it is in Himachal Pradesh. But they have given Ranskar Valley, which is the part of Kashmir. So in that sense this is wrong. Similarly, so this is correct, this is wrong. Alchi temple complex, where it is? Maybe it is in Sikkim, right? So not in the Ladakh. So this also is wrong. So answer will be one only. But again, I tell you just for this one question again, don't make a notes of all the monasteries. Rumtek Monastery, it is in Sikkim, very important. Tawang Monastery, it is very important. It is in Arunachal Pradesh. It is the largest monastery in India. And Dalai Lama is also belongs to this monastery, and now he is in Dharmasala. So that you should be knowing about which monastery, that thing that you should be knowing. Broader point may where this will belong, and that's it about it. Right? So don't go too deep into this, right? Because it's a one time question, you cannot do much about them, right? Now, which of the following kingdoms were associated with life of Buddha? As I told you, Kosala, right? So Kosala, capital was Shravasti, right? Shravasti is nothing but present name. What is its name? Kausalya Suprabhata. Kosala, that is Ramakarya Ayodha, right? Ayodhya, right? So which is on which river? Saryu river. So broader understanding, right? So similarly, Magadha, you know that Bimbisara, Ajata Shastru, they were Bimbisara was contemporary of Gautam Buddha, right? So that means that he has come here, and then Bodh Gaya, where he has get this first sermon, right? So this is in the place of Magadha only. Bodh Gaya comes under Magadha only. Similarly, most of its Lumbini that you can take, where he born, was a vassal state or a feudatory state of Kosala, right? So in that sense, basically they are also. So other important places are his death place, right? That is basically Kushinagar, and then last meet he has eat as Pava, all belongs to Malla Republic. So that you should be knowing. Along with that, he has also spent some time in Vatsa kingdom. With kingdom, 3 kingdoms he has spent his time, and with Republic Lichavi you should be knowing. Then basically you should be knowing about Malla, right? Those 3, the republics you should be knowing. Other than that, again, don't try to mug it up with its life history, which place, which will come, which under which the Mahajanapadas it was there. If you link, you will get the answers. And do the same thing with respect to Jaina or Mahavira also, right? But also see the kings associated in him. Now the kingdom has been asked. Next time then ask, rather than contemporary of Buddha, they can give you Bimbisara, they can give you Pradyota, they can give you Udayana, they can give you Parsinjot. All these are different kingdom ka major king at that point of time. Udayana was a king, Parsinjot was king, Pradyota was king, Bimbisara was king. All were contemporary to Buddha. Now kingdom may he might not have visited, but who was the king who was basically contemporary, that can be also be asked. So know the names of the contemporary kings associated with Buddha also. Contemporary kings associate, major kings, not the minute small kings you don't need to remember, because if there are 16 Mahajanapadas, there will be different kings everywhere. So don't try to worry about it, but try to worry more about from the perspective of important things, right? So here, the Avanti, it was contemporary to him. The king has called Buddha to come to his state, but he did not go, right? But but the king was contemporary. But Gandhara was not even very far from, if you look at from this thing, so that is not a part of his visit also. So that you don't need to worry. And it was morely in the part of northwestern region. It was not even in the India's region as such at that point. So this you can remove as such. So if you remove 2, it will be 1, 3, 4. Avanti, you know that it is basically contemporary, but he did not visit the Avanti or Ujjain. He has been called for Ujjain for the discussion, but he did not go as such. There is no historical proof saying that he has gone there, right? But just have the broader understanding. But king ka you should be having. Who was the king of Vatsa? Who was the king of Koshala? Who was the king of Avanti? Who was the king of Magadha? Right? Similarly, important kings who are actually ruling at that point of time, if you know, then contemporary kind of question, if they are asking about them, then it will be easy to understand. Parsinjit, Pradyota, Udayana, Bimbisara. Okay. Right. Now, the concept of Bodhisattva is central to the Hinayana sect of Buddhism. Is it correct? Hinayana is basically Arhat. Right? Bodhisattva is what? You delay your own nirvana to make sure that others get. So, it is a concept of what? Mahayana Buddhism. So, the first statement is incorrect. So, if I remove 1, 2 and 3 only, 2 only will be there, 2 is there in both the option. All I have to worry is about third statement. Right? What is the third statement? Bodhisattva delays achieving his own salvation to help all sentient beings to onto path to it. Correct? Right? So, you can see Buddhist monk gurus. Right? So, they are all following that. Right? They themselves are not, getting the nirvana. They are teaching, preaching about Buddha, helping others also can get their this thing. So, that is third is correct. So, first is incorrect. So, answer should be 2 and 3 only. What is 2? Bodhisattva is a compassionate one on his way to enlightenment. He is not selfish one. He is compassionate. Let everybody get nirvana just like me. Otherwise, knowledge getting is not everybody's cup of tea. So, let me help them to get their nirvana. So, that is, among you, there will be some student who understood everything, teaches others also rather than studying his own. So, that is kind of a Bodhisattva kind of concept. Alright? Alright. Now, Sautantrika and Samiti, our sect of Jainism. Is it correct? What is this Sautantrika and Samiti was? Sect of Sarvastavadin. Sarvastavadin was a sect of Hinayana. Hinayana, Sarvastavadin. Within Sarvastavadin, we have Sautantrika and then Samitiya. But next time, they may ask the philosophy of Sautantrika also, Sarvastavadin also, Samitiya also. So that means that you cannot stop it here now. When that word has already appeared, your job is to have the basic understanding of them. Who is the founder of them? What is their basic philosophy? Again, two, metaphysical ka, you don't need to go. What is Atma, what is soul, how it will work. Just the basic philosophy of it. Sautantrika means sutra, right? So it is based on rules, right? You have to follow the rules and do it. Samitiya means, as I told you, there was always a question. It is more controversial one, right? It goes against all type of Buddhism that they say, right? So here Sarvastavadin held that constituent of phenomena are not wholly momentarily, but existed forever in a latent form. It might not be there in a complete form. In a latent form, it will be forever be there. For them, basically, they give you that example. I give you the example of movie, right? When you are watching a movie, you may be watching a fight scene. That doesn't mean that the old scene that he has watched 5 minutes back was not part of movie. No, maybe momentarily you are not experiencing it. Still, it is a part of movie. What is about to come in the next scene, that is also part of movie. So that means that past, present, future, all part of one only. Maybe one is happening at a time momentarily, does not mean that others are not existing. They are existing in their latent form. That is the Sarvastavadin. So that means that everything. But overall Buddhism was saying always that soul is not permanent. It is basically this, right? It is a momentary, right? So when it is a momentary, it goes from this, from the next person. Who carries that? A person carries that. That means that it is like, again, giving an example. You are coming a person, you are experiencing everything in this real world. Let's say this movie is a real world that is happening. You as a viewer come and watch it. Once you go, movie is over. That means that when you die, that is movie is over means your life story is over. You are going out of it, going to the next theater, watching one more movie. That means that you are that person who keeps carrying this karma from one place to other place. That is called Pudgala. Pudgala is a person who carries this karma, right? Which was not basically a concept of Buddhism to a great extent. That is why it was having a complete opposite viewpoint of Buddhism in fact, right? So they try to explain, if it is forever is there, who carries it? He tells that person will carry. It is not that soul will move from one to one. He was visited, he took that movie, with that experience he is going to the next movie. That means that he is the same person, finished the story here, again he is starting a new journey. This person is carrying the karma. That is Pudgala that they have given. Pudgala means person who carries the karma or the soul. So that was the concept which was opposite of Buddhism has been discussed. So you go through in the internet, understand what it is in the basic common man's world, have the broader understanding. One line philosophy would be more than sufficient. Alright. So this is correct. Sautantrika and Samitiya were offshoot of this Sarvastavadin only. So Sautantrika is telling that there is nothing called permanent in the latent form, everything is temporary. You have there, you watch it there, that's over. That is over. That's it. You are there in that part only. There is nothing called. So though it is a part of Sarvasthavadin, it went against the basic principle of Sarvasthavadin. It believes in only the momentary existence of the phenomena. Right. So and Sautantrika means it is from the word sutra, that is rules, it has been taken. Right. Samitya is completely different. It tries to explain how this karma is moving from person to person in the form of Pudugala. Right, that is person. So that is you should be having the broader understanding. Then who is the founder, which time it was there, just have that internet may, just because next time if they want to ask about it, they ask the philosophy of it. Try to understand. Once time they'll ask what is the sect, which sect it is. Next time if they want to ask, they go deeper. That is how you have to understand. So whatever the term that has been appeared, have basic notes about it. That is the basic idea. Right. All right. Right. With reference to ancient Jainism, which one of the following statement is correct? Jainism was spread in South India under the leadership of Stalabahu. No, wrong. Jaina who remained under the leadership of Bhadrabahu were called Shvetambaras after the council held at Pataliputra. Is it correct? No. Jainism enjoyed patronage of Kalinga king Karavela, right, in 1st century BC. Right? What is this Kalinga has done? Udayagiri caves. Right? We have discussed about Udayagiri caves. Hathigumpa inscription, where we can see that the Karavela has patronized which religion? Jainism religion. He is not Buddhist. Right? Ashoka was a Buddhist. He was against it. Because Ashoka has annexed Kalinga, defeated Kalinga. So in Hathigumpa basically, he was basically a favored more of a Jainism. Karavela through his Hathigumpa inscription has spoken more about patronized the Jainism. Right. In the initial state of Jainism, Jaina worshipped image, unlike Buddhist. Did they worship image initially of Jaina? Later may Murti Puja has come. After 10th century, they wanted, the temples were built, Dilwara temples, wherever you see, then the Murti Puja has come. Both in Buddhism as well as Jainism, initially they were against this idol worship or a Murti Puja. So they have just given you confusion. Unlike Buddhism, they add, because Buddhism you know that they won't do the Murti Puja beginning Hinayana. So then, unlike Buddhism, when they do, it feels like maybe Jainism are doing. I am not much aware of Jainism. So both Jainism and Buddhism were completely against this image worship. So this is also incorrect. So what is the correct? Correct is basically the patronage of Kalinga king Karavela, that has been Jainism. Right. Then also see who are the other kings who patronized the Jainism in different parts of the Indian history. Patronage about Jainism also, Buddhism also. Chandragupta Maurya, later he converted to Jainism. So he is the patron of Jainism. Like that, important patrons of the Jainism has to be studied. Just who is the patron and this. For example, Vimal Shah's during the Solanki time, the Dilwara temple in Mount Abu has been constructed by the traders like Vimal Shah. Like Vimal Shah was a trader, but who was the kingdom? Who patronized them, supported them? That you should be having basic understanding, right? So like that you should be having the, right? Then Ishwavaku rulers of South India were antagonistic towards Buddhism. They were against the Buddhism. Is it correct? No. What they were known for? Constructing the Nagarjuna Konda Stupa, right? Which is also called as Vijayapuri. Amaravati from Satavahanas, Nagarjuna Konda for Ishwavakus. So that means that they favored Buddhism, especially the queens of Ishwavakus were major proponents of Mahayana or Mahasangika Buddhism, right? So that means that the first statement is incorrect. So what is the second statement? Pala rulers of Eastern India were patrons of Buddhism. Yes, they have constructed Odentpuri, Vikramashila University, also supported monastery in Nalanda by giving the money from 5 villages. So that means that they were patron of Buddhism. In their architecture, sculpture also you can see the Buddhist architecture. So that means that they were the patrons of Buddhism. Both become correct. Alright. Now, the Jain philosophy, which holds that world is created and maintained by. If there is no God, who created this world? That is the question. If you don't believe in God, you are not saying that he is not a creator, then somebody has to create this world. How it is been created? So that is the question that is asking. So that is the Jain philosophy that world is created and maintained by what? Universal law. There is a universal law which basically do everything. It is not that somebody God is sitting and doing it. It is just a universal law. Universal truth is basically Satya, is one of the 5 O's, right? Similarly, universal faith or Samyak, what is that? Samyak Jnan, Samyak Darshan, that is one of them is universal faith, right? So that is similarly, it is a part of Three Ratnas, right? Similarly, universal soul they believed in, but they never told that world is created by this universal soul, right? Universal soul is a philosophy that they believe that soul will always be existing in everything. So the answer is universal law, right? In Indian ancient monasteries, a ceremony called Parvarana used to be held. Okay, what is this? Two questions. What is this? What is Pavarana? During Buddhist time, during a rainy season, right? Now they were monks who are roaming around preaching their treat. Now during the rainy season, so that time they cannot, do this. They have to stay somewhere. So they used to have a retreat festival where they used to stay in a caves and stay there, which is basically called as that, Vasa. Vasa means basically 3 months or 4 months ka rainy retreat for Buddhist monks, right, who are been staying there. Now when they are staying there, they have to go through various rules that they have to follow, because that is a new place they are staying and they have to have some rules. Now once their retreat is over, Vasa is over, before they further go and start moving and preaching, there has to be some meeting where we will discuss that you did not follow the rule, he did not follow the rule. That means that each monk will point out, I see that the other day he was not even getting at 6 o'clock, he was getting at sleeping till 10 o'clock, right? So like that basically they will be talking about what was doing and what was not happening. And then once you do it, you will agree and say that that was the mistake, it was a genuine mistake. Last late night I was watching serial and so that kind of thing, right? So that means that they also agree, they also say that it is my mistake, they agree for that mistake, then they repent for that mistake. Once you repent, you are not carrying forward any of your mistakes as such. So that part is called as Pavarana, right? The Pavarana is basically when you discuss your mistake that has happened during that retreat or Vasa and then moving forward, right? So that is basically an occasion to elect Sangha Parinayaka and 2 speakers, right? Confession by the monks of their offense committed during the stay in the monasteries during the rainy season. So this is called Vassa. Sometimes this word can be inspired and as the Vassa. So Vassa is basically this. Along with that, try to have their different practices. What is Buddha Purnima? What is Buddha Purnima is basically celebrated for? Birth of Buddha, death of Buddha, right? And then is enlightenment, but not for basically first sermon. Apart from first sermon, other 3 major events of his life, that is birth, then basically enlightenment, then Mahaparinirvana, death. For these 3 together, we celebrate Buddha Purnima. So like that, what are the various cultures that they were showing? That because Buddha Purnima to every year we celebrate. So that one, if you know, it is more than enough. You don't need Ardha Purnima or Ashada Purnima. That detailing you don't need to go. Just have something that is regularly we are following. Buddha Purnima you get holiday also, right, as a government official. So that means that you should be knowing why this Buddha Purnima is celebrated. That is one thing that would be more than sufficient, and other kind of practice, right? Now the last question. With reference to cultural history of India, which one of the following is correct description of paramitas? Paramitas. They were the perfections who attained, whose attainment led to Bodhisattva, powerful merchant guilds of early medieval. philosophical schools that did not accept authority of Veda. What is the philosophy of school that did not accept authority of school? Authority of Vedas? Heterodox school, right? It is not Paramitas. All the school that did not accept the authority of Veda, we call it as a heterodox school, right? There is nothing called Paramita. We are talking about Buddhism here. So what it is the term? It is the perfections who attainment led to Bodhisattva path, right? So that is called as Paramita. That is again, if you see, terminologies has been repeatedly asked. You have to prepare the terminologies, a list of important terminologies. Then the sects has been the major important here, and basic philosophy of the sect, and also the major concept, what is the soul they believe in, what is the concept of God, right? All those things, you know, the different sects and their basic philosophy. So how it has been emerged. You remember it like a story so that you are not mugging it up. Otherwise, Sautantrika somewhere will come, Savasthavardhin will come, Lokottara will come, Mahasangikas will come, Mahayana will come, Yogachara will come, you know, Madhyamika school will come. Then you start confusing whether it is Jainism, Buddhism. But if you understand the narrative, right, as I told you, initially this fight has happened, Mahasangikas came, Staviravadins came. Within this Mahasangikas, someone has Lokatavadin has come. They are told Buddha is from the outside world. So they start, you know, worshipping him. This image worship further led to Mahayana Buddhism. Like that, if you remember through a story, then you will not be getting confused, and each philosophy having one liner. I always remember through analogies, right? Because analogy is very easy to Anekantavada, elephant ka story. If you remember it, then you will be not, you know, there are different sides to a same truth. Somebody sees the, however, which way you are seeing, that looks truth to you, right? That might not be the truth, the whole truth. It may be a truth, but not the whole truth, which is called Shayad Vada, right? May be a truth, right? Not the eternal truth. This kind of concept you understand, soul you understand, then Jiva, Ajiva, Nirjara, what is the meaning of Nirjara? This kind of terminologies you make from the Buddhist and Jainist that you come through the this thing. So that would be more than sufficient and to complete your Buddhism. And if you have seen how many questions were there, you know, every year I am taken only from 2011. For, you know, art and architecture I have not taken from 2001. I have taken from last 15 years only. Still every year 1 or 2 questions are there, right? Except 2025, there were, you know, literally every year you are getting 1 or 2 questions from these Buddhism and Jainism. So it is a very, very important topic. That is why I did not cover it through ancient India. Let's have a separate session because it will take more time. So I wanted to finish the ancient India in such way, and then I will take this. So, you know, understood this. Now if I do architecture also, it will take much more time. So architecture we will keep it for the next class. Architecture, painting, music, dance, you know, then, you know, festivals, textiles, and then overall puppetry and other things. They have not asked that, but whatever that they have asked, different chapter we will cover in the next class. Along with that, we are moving to modern India, right? Right. So, you know, these 2 months are there, very, very important for your, you know, summing it up the things, right? So
I hope you got enlightenment. Correct. So, Kevala Gyan, correct? So, we call him as a philosopher only. Insides ka, he is Shankaracharya, correct? So I hope that this series is helping you out. So, we have completed basically most of the part of the history because if modern baki hai abhi. Understand whatever we have discussed till now. For example, just say first we discussed about Jainism, Buddhism, Bhakti culture, and when you later saw the questions, then you understood why we had made the notes thematically in what format, right? Now you can easily identify the things, right? Hayana. And I hope it is really helping every one of you. But now if you just see, we have conducted 4 PGP sessions till now. Almost ancient art and culture, medieval is completed. Let us assume for time being. तो भी कितना क्वेश्चन हुआ है complete अभी तक? 5 to 6. Correct? We have to do yet another 90 questions, right? 90, 92. So what I mean by this is that still many major subjects are remaining and pending. Correct? So just imagine in this way, if you are preparing, actually you have to prepare in this way only. Now you might be understanding, but imagine if you want to prepare in this way, the way we are been teaching you in a systematic way, PYQ, decoding PYQs, understanding it in thematic manner, and probably understanding what can be the future questions also. This is what is discussed here right now. So if you want to do that, for the remaining of basically 90 to 95 questions, because ancient and medieval हुआ है मतलब 5 questions हुआ है अभी तक. For that you will take ample amount of time, right? So just imagine if you are starting it from Jan to May, is that sufficient time to do it in this way? 100% is not sufficient time. So that is the reason why I emphasize that you should basically now switch on your gears, because it is right now November, the 3rd is there right now, correct? So slowly switch on gears towards the आपका so called as prelims, right? I am not saying that you should not do mains, but at least now 1 or 2 days, at least 1 day to you are allocating. So now remaining part of the day, you just see the previous year questions, solve few test, mock test वगैरह, correct? So that will bring you into the momentum. Now, for example, we have taught you in detail about Bhakti, Jainism, Buddhism, Delhi Sultanate, in Vijayanagara, ये सब कुछ हो गया, Indus Valley Civilization. But right now, if I give the paper, test paper of 50 questions, trust me, still 50% inaccuracy होगा आपका. Why? It is because of lack of practice and lack of revision. So what I am saying is that on weekly basis, at least some time now you should give for the prelims. 5 days you give it for your mains, specifically completely mains, but PT के लिए slowly switch on the gears, because मैं बोल रहा हूँ अभी भी, this is almost only 5 questions out of 100 questions, ये 5 ही questions आने वाले. That, but it is a major part also. Why? Because more sources you have to cover for ancient, art and culture, medieval. So that is why it is forms a major source का part. But question wise 5 ही questions आएंगे इसके. So 95 questions का भी हमें ऐसे करना है. So that is very difficult for you to do it from Jan, because hardly 4-5 months मतलब 150 days बचेगा. उसमें ये पूरा करना is very difficult. So now in this 2 months, or I would say in 50 days, slowly switch on your gears towards the prelims. कैसे करोगे ये? 1. See the PYQs. Now already we are seeing the PYQs, but I am asking you to solve certain tests, right? So next Sunday you will be surprised, because we are thinking to give you some questions for the solving here only. 50 questions वगैरह देंगे छोटा सा. You just try to solve those. Then you will realize that application of knowledge is more important. जैसे for example अभी इतने sets पढ़ाए सर ने, उसका application करना in that time period, in that pressure is a challenge. So for that you need lot of revisions. So now give time for solving some of the mock tests on the weekends. थोड़ा सा MCQ solve करो of any test series that you find, मतलब good test series you can find it in the market, तो solve करना शुरू करो, because many of the people sitting here I know you personally, where I have seen you that you have done very well for the mains ka preparation, but PT has been a hurdle for many of you. Am I right or wrong? So PT, in this way you have to prepare. Actually, for example, if in this way if you are preparing, none of the question out of the 5 or 6 question or 7 questions which are coming from ancient, medieval वगैरह, you will go incorrect in that. बट उसके लिए सोचो, इकोनॉमी करना है, पॉलिटी करना है, एनवायरमेंट, ज्योग्राफी, साइंस एंड टेक, इतना पूरा करना है, एंड दो सब्जेक्ट्स आर करंट अफेयर ओरिएंटेड. इसमें करंट अफेयर है नहीं, सोचो. आई होप यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. सो टू डू ऑल दिस थिंग्स, तो हमें क्या करना है अभी, PYQs डिटेल में किया, यू ट्राई टू रिवाइज दिस कंटेंट. सेकंड, you solve few mocks. If you are doing this much, the things will be sufficient, right? And basically I hope that this has been more helpful. We know that it has been strainful for you and us also, but still we want that you should be ready by Jan for complete prelims. But you should know what to read and what not to read, and what are the important themes वगैरह. So if you are knowing that, then that 150 days are sufficient. But if you are completely starting it from Jan, नहीं होगा. I hope you got it. So this is all from my side. If Aditya sir has to add anything.
Just given my Telegram ID.
Yeah.
Because we have a prelims guidance program, बोल के channel is there. So anything update is there, we will put it there, right? So many people are not there. They will ask that PPT, because the same PPT I have already put 1 day before. So you can take the download it only, rather than again and then write it there only, so that that will become your revision material.
So there is
right.
prelims,
so,
Insights IS prelims guidance program.
So if you send your ID, I will add it to there, or I will give the channel link. So this the channel ID I don't know properly. It's just a prelims guidance program from Insights IS. So for my Telegram ID or Ashish sir Telegram ID, sir, your Telegram ID.
Yeah. So I will just tell you ये पूरा नाम लिख देता हूँ. So you can, yeah, Telegram also. Insights IS. Insights space is there. Insights IS prelims guidance program. Prelims guidance program. Correct. So and if you just see my Telegram ID, I am writing it here @ Ashish. A is capital, Ashish underscore Gadge. So you can also message me here.
Group link or channel link you will be directly.
इस पे क्या करेंगे हम लोग, सिंपल है, जो भी आपने पढ़ा PYQs थीमेटिकली देंगे, प्लस फॉर एग्जांपल इन द अपकमिंग टाइम्स इफ डिपेंड अपॉन द सब्जेक्ट, लेट अस कंसीडर ज्योग्राफी इज देयर एग्जांपल, इफ आफ्टर मॉडर्न इंडिया ज्योग्राफी कर रहा है या फिर हिस्ट्री कर रहे हैं, ट्राइबल मूवमेंट्स आर देयर वगैरह, एंड इफ यू आर मेकिंग सम नोट्स, जैसे मैं बनाता हूँ लिखता हूँ, if I am doing it I will just keep on posting those photos or PDF chota chota 2 pages ka, so that can be easy and handy for you to revise, right? So those things I will be keeping on posting it here on this channel now from now onwards. So you please be here for the matlab regular I would say regular materials, regular updates, everything यहाँ पे देंगे, correct? Only from prelims perspective guys. Means के लिए ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं कर रहे as of now, सिर्फ PT का ही focus है. Okay? Any doubts? If you are having any doubts, online students, if you are having any doubts, you can feel free to ask.
As I told you, please start your solving the MCQs. See the MCQs, start solving few MCQs. Okay? Because the skill part you cannot get at the very late moment. Many times it is not that skill does not mean that your elimination. When I am doing, I am telling you, Mahasangika, it may be at that point of time. So at that point of time, Mahayana was not there. So Gandhara may not be the answer. That is just a thought process I am putting all the things. So that is basically naturally has to come over a period of time your practice and doing it. But in the last 5 months, if you are just putting the content to your mind and never give time to think about anything, then it becomes very difficult to solve. So at least in these 2 months, rather than you are starting for prelims entirely, at least have that idea. If I tomorrow, if I give you a book for ancient India, you should be knowing what I will be knowing in Indus Valley civilization. Right? I won't be mugging up all the things that is there in the book. Right? So I will be knowing, okay, these are the things that I have to cover because I have seen the PYQs. And while solving also, how do I apply my basics and try to eliminate few options. So that if you start getting that, concept, then in January what will happen? You will not take 1 week for entire ancient India. You just finish it in 1.5 days. Because you know that what is required in Mughals, what is required in Gupta. So it becomes very easy to finish. Unless you don't know it, you just take the book, consume all the information that is there in the book, whether even reflecting whether it is required or not. This is a common mistake that will happen. By the time if you do that, then only for history you would be taking, let's say, 15-20 days. Then comes polity. Polity to itna big book hai, so you will take, let's say, another 15 days. So by the time of March end, you would have finished it once. Now there are only 2 months. Whatever that you studied history in January, of course you would have forgotten everything. Right? So that is a common flow. Now that is where the pressure will build. So I want you to finish by February, mid-February one time, February to March 15 one more time, then from 15 days one more time, like that by the end of May, you should have done minimum 5 to 6 revision and knowing all the question, how it is coming, solving more. Right? Don't, become part of something, consuming the information for 10 days, 15 days, for one subject. If you are finished taking 15-20 days, at least 2-3 subjects should get over. When that will happen? When you know exactly what is required from that chapter. Otherwise, you will be keep reading it, then it will take lot of your time and energy. Right? So that is why at least that understanding now only you are having. Every 1 week, whatever that is being done, you give half day to just revise whatever been done, whatever the themes that are there. So then you make your own mind map. Harappan civilization, these are the various themes that you yourself analyze and write it. So that when you are studying for the next time, you know what is required in Harappan. So that you should not do in the January. Analysis should be done now only. By January, you are just finishing of the thing. 2 to 3 days, 4 days, one subject you have to finish. Then only 8-10 subjects are there. Let's say 8 to 9 major subjects are there. So even if you are taking 5 days, it is becoming 45 days. Right? So more than 5 days, so you cannot give for a subject. So that is how the plan will be done. That is how many people lose the game. They think they do everything, but they cannot manage the thing because of, unnecessarily consuming the information. I don't want you to consume the information rather than reflect on the information, what is being asked. Then you should be more of a thinker understanding the requirement of this exam. Then only you can handle it better, and always make sure that don't be a perfectionist. Above average in all the subject will make you clear the papers. Right? It is that jack of all. Doesn't mean that master of none. You have to be a master of at least few subjects. Right? That will give you edge. Right? For example, polity, if you are very good, out of 15, if you can do 13, that is giving edge. So I'm not saying that you should be above average in all the subjects. Some subjects you have to be good, but other subject at least above average you have to be there. You have cannot be something zero in some you are master. In that way it will not work. Okay. So for that basically from now only you have understanding of what is required. Okay. In the next week we will finish this art and culture completely and move to modern India. All right.
Okay.
So there won't be any break on Sundays, even if there are some programs are there, right? So we'll at least have 3-4 hours of class, right? Because when we are not taking break, we don't expect you to take the break, all right?
So one more point I wanted to highlight is that why we started with the ancient is because I will tell you the sources. R.S. Sharma पढ़ते हो, Introduction to Indian Art, नितिन सिंघानिया पढ़ते हो आप लोग, न्यू NCERTs के 3 बुक्स, करेक्ट 6 बुक्स हो गया, प्लस CCRT का वेबसाइट. So basically there are 7 to, then I have not counted Satish Chandra. So there are total 8 books, am I right? For the topics that we are, what we are trying to do is that all these 8 books we are trying to consolidate. At least politically हमें पता है लक्ष्मीकांति है बस. But for ancient art and culture medieval source ही नहीं, we have to diversify into 7 to 8 books. So now you know what are the themes etc. So this is how if you are having इतना कितना भी बड़ा source हो, same will go for environment. ऐसा नहीं कि आशीष सर का नोट से आएगा पूरा. We have to diversify to down to earth and other things. So we have to go into deeper and horizontally also. Why? Because the demand of the question is being, I would say demand of the questions are increasing. So I hope you are understanding all these things. So revise it, solve MCQs guys, please revise. Okay, chalo, any doubts? Hope that you enjoyed. अरे हमारा भी energy down है. Did you really enjoy? चलो ठीक है. See you on the next Sunday. Thank you.
तो अभी मैं इंसेक्ट्स का प्रिलिम्स और
Website, Insights website. Refer to the Insights website.